Hello and welcome. My name is Zafar Iqbal and you are watching The Mojo Story. 15 years, after 15 years, Bangladesh and Pakistan have resumed Foreign Office consultation, but is seeking an apology from Pakistan for 1971 atrocities during the Liberation War and also demanding more than $4 billion in pending dues. Now, Bangladesh has also made a sort of a strange statement about the situation in Murshidabad, India. Remember, there were clashes after the Waqf Amendment Act in Murshidabad. Now, Bangladesh has, in fact, made a statement about that, and India has hit back. India has said, the ME has responded that India rejects Bangladesh's statement and accused Dhaka of virtue signaling and urging it to focus on its internal matters and addressing the persecution of minorities within its borders. To discuss this, we're joined by an eminent panel today. We're joined by Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni. Welcome to Mojo Story, sir. We are also joined by Ambassador Veena Sikri. Welcome to Mojo Story. Uh, uh, if I may start with you, Ambassador Veena Sikri. Uh, Bangladesh's statement about Murshidabad, of the developments that are taking place in India, isn't it some sort of very unusual? Why are they doing it? Is it because that India has been uh, making, showing its concerns about the plight of minorities in that country, and that is why Bangladesh is making those statements?
Tell you that you must see the first part of the statement which has been made by Shafiqul Alam, the press secretary to Mohammed Yunus. And they were actually responding to all the assessments and the Indian media reports where they were saying that people had come from across the border, from Bangladesh into India to actually incite the violence. And that is what was the assessment of the intelligence agency and others, that the violence had been incited by people living in that area, aided and abetted by those who had come from across the border. And actually, of course, the thing to see in Murshidabad is that the attacks were on the Hindus living in that area. So
Right.
actually, it's clear you cannot compare it in any way with the with what has been happening to the Hindu, Buddhist, and Christian minorities in Bangladesh since August 5 last year. Not at all. So actually, it is the fact of the matter is that Murshidabad was an incident. Even the Chief Minister Mamta Banerjee had to make a statement about that and saying, she tried to blame the BSF, say how did those people come in, etc. Everybody knows that this happened because this was incitement was made by people coming from across the border, well armed, all kinds of explosive, and they contributed greatly to the mayhem which was wrought on the Hindu community living in that area, and many of them had to leave their homes and have been expressing their grievous hurt and insult at that. So there is absolutely no comparison that the Bangladesh authorities could draw. In any case, they were rather on the defensive. And I think the response made by the Indian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, by the MEA, Ministry of External Affairs, was absolutely appropriate and correct. And had pointed out, called them out on their statement. And there is no way in which you could in any way accept the kind of ridiculous remarks that the Bangladesh side is trying to make. It is absolutely correct to say that this is a disguised and disingenuous attempt to draw a parallel between what is happening in Murshidabad and what is happening in Bangladesh. There is absolutely no comparison between the two. The attacks were on the Hindus living in that area, on the majority communities, and aided and abetted by people coming from Bangladesh. Let's not
So this
forget
is
these.
this is a very important distinction that you are drawing. That in Bangladesh, it's the attack on the minorities, on the Hindus and other minority groups in Bangladesh. But here there was attacks on Hindus in Murshidabad, which is a Muslim-dominated area. So this is a big difference. So how can the two be related? And that's besides the point. That why does Bangladesh want to make a statement about internal affairs in India? Now, what's happening in Bangladesh is a context. There, a prime minister was removed. There, a new interim government came into place, and there was rioting. There were clashes. That was an entirely different atmosphere and a scenario. These two cannot be compared at all.
Are you asking? Yeah, well,
Yes.
absolutely right. You're absolutely right. There is no comparison between the two situations. What happened in Bangladesh in August 2024, let's be very clear, it was not a spontaneous event, nor was it a students' uprising. The Bangladesh people have tried to tell the world that it was a spontaneous students' uprising. Nothing of the kind. It was
Yeah,
a well planned, detailed regime change operation done in a plan months in advance, and with the backing, Pakistan was backing the operation fully. Why they
yeah,
had been allowed to back this operation by the Biden administration deep state is something that I will never understand, but they
yeah,
were. And they have since then tried to bring in the regime of Islamists in Bangladesh. Let's be very clear on one point that Professor Mohammed Yunus is not a person in power. He is just the front for those who are in power. The ones in power are the Islamists. And they have now joined his government also as advisors. For example, there is the Hizb Tahrir, Mahfouz Alam, who is, was at one time his private secretary, is now an advisor in the regime, and he's known to be a member of the Hizb Tahrir, as much as he may deny it. There is the Hifazat Islam, who is directly as an advisor right from day one. And that person is also a member of the advisor to the Islami Andolan Bangladesh. So the effort right now in Bangladesh is to bring all the Islamists together. And they are talking about a caliphate. They're openly talking about a caliphate. And we will have a caliphate. They said, even if we want to have civil war, we will still have a caliphate. And so they're also showing maps where West Bengal is part of what they call Banglastan. They have attacked the northeast India. We saw when Mohammed Yunus went to China, he called the northeast as at the mercy of Bangladesh for its access to the sea. So they say we are the guardians of the northeast, and they are inviting China that treat this as an extension of your economy. Absolutely unacceptable and ridiculous statements by Mohammed Yunus. And not at all respecting the sovereignty of India. This is absolutely unacceptable. I'm sure this has been talked about very strongly when the two leaders met in at the BIMSTEC, or the sidelines of the BIMSTEC summit in Bangkok. So I think that I would say first and foremost that you have to see the very defensive nature of the statement made by Shafiqul Alam. He was trying to protect what everybody knows is an inspired attack by the people coming from across the border into Murshidabad,
yes,
and
yes,
attacking the Hindus. They are coming into our country and attacking our own community. What is this? Absolutely, this is what
yes.
we have to call out.
Yes, actually, this is the full statement. In fact, there are two parts to the statement, what he says first, and then what he ends his statement with. He says that we strongly refute any attempts to implicate Bangladesh in the communal violence in Murshidabad. We condemn attacks on Muslims causing loss of lives and property. We urge the government of India and West Bengal to take all steps to protect the minority, basically, the minority Muslims. That's what he's trying to say. But you spoke about the deep state. When President Trump was specifically and pointedly asked about the role of Bangladesh, US deep state, he said our deep state is not involved. Now he tried to make a distinction between the previous deep state and today's deep state. He didn't say that the earlier deep state was not involved. He said our deep state is not involved.
Yes. Yes, absolutely right. He was absolutely right, because he's always said that his first intention is going to be to dismantle the deep state. And he
Yeah,
also told Prime Minister, he told the audience, and pointing to Prime Minister Modi, I'm leaving Bangladesh to him. So he is
yeah,
not interested. But we are seeing today a totally different situation where Pakistan and China are both very active in Bangladesh. And as we speak, the Pakistan Foreign Secretary is there in Bangladesh. And you spoke about this demand that the Bangladesh Foreign Secretary has made in his talks with the Pakistani Foreign Secretary. I must tell you, this is complete eyewash. This is
okay,
complete eyewash. I'll tell you why. Because this demand that the Pakistan government must apologize, that there have to be reparations for all the assets not divided in 1971, and this, even the aid and assistance that came for the 1970, the terrible situation which was with the floods in Bangladesh. All that, this is all a traditional demand that has been there since 1971, and the people of Bangladesh are very attached to those demands. They have a great regard and respect for the liberation war, for what it stood for. It gave them independence. And now, because the regime led by Mohammed Yunus wants to cozy up with Pakistan and virtually bring Pakistan in to set up a Sharia law in Bangladesh, so they know, the regime knows that the people of Bangladesh will not accept it because they are wedded to those demands. They know that Pakistan, what they did in 1971, the rape, the genocide, the lynching, the killings, they don't want to forgive or forget that. Now, to say that we have not forgotten, they have put these demands on the table. These are our demands to Pakistan. And simultaneously, they have said, we're going to go on with our talks. We're going to go on with our friendship. We're going to go on with the development of all the military cooperation and all the other cooperation between Bangladesh and Pakistan. But these demands are on the table. And we will continue to talk about these itself. Now, is there any self-respecting country in the world which will say that Pakistan has killed millions of people in the genocide in East Pakistan, and they've raped, again, millions of women in East Pakistan, and then you can say that, okay, forget about it, we'll just go on with our building of the bilateral relations? That is not acceptable. And if you're trying to do that, you're trying to pull the, hoodwink the people of Bangladesh. They're trying to do that. And they think
Right.
that the Bangladesh people will fall for it. I don't think so.
Right. You spoke about the eyewash that Bangladesh is sort of indulging in. We'll come to that. But first, I want to play the soundbite of the MEA, Dr. S. Jaishankar, when he spoke about the situation in Bangladesh in Parliament. Let's play that soundbite, and then I'll go to Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni.
हो गया आपका प्रश्न वजीर माननीय मंत्री जी
हमारे sir, like with Pakistan, we also track the welfare and well-being of the minority in Bangladesh. I would like to inform the House, sir, through you, that in 2024, we've had altogether 2,400 incidents relating to attacks on minorities, and in 2025, 72 incidents. We have the details of these incidents. We have taken it up. I have taken it up with my counterpart. Foreign Secretary took it up when he visited Bangladesh, and this continues to be a matter of concern for the government of India.
श्री अरविंद सावंत
Right. You heard it, Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni. But we're talking also about Bangladesh seeking an apology from Pakistan and demanding more than $4 billion. As Ambassador Veena Sikri was saying, that it's an eyewash. Do you think it's an eyewash? Because on the other hand, the two seem to be cozying up with each other, developing defense relations, developing other sort of trade ties. On the other hand, Bangladesh now coming up with this demand. Do you think there is a solid desire to get an apology from Pakistan, or is it merely an eyewash?
Thank you, Zafar. I go along with Ambassador. She's absolutely right. It's a total eyewash. It's just to be able to fool the world and fool the Bangladeshis, some amongst them who may be feeling bad that the way they've gone about the role of Jamaat-e-Islami. They still have about over 30% people supporting the Awami League in Bangladesh. There is a lot of goodwill amongst the Muslims in Bangladesh who genuinely feel that India played a huge role in the liberation of Bangladesh. Notwithstanding that, there are a sizable now, led by Mohammed Yunus, Nobel laureate, though not noble in his intentions, and a lot of them in Bangladesh, influenced by Jamaati, who have had an anti-India feeling. And Pakistan, despite what it did in 1971, which the ambassador brought it out very well, I think Pakistan has yet not, or that I would say that the mindset of Pakistan hadn't left Bangladesh. And there are a sizable number of population there which intended to, influencing the student community, influencing a sizable people in anti-India, a lot of the Biharis who were there, not been given citizenship, and you find all of it. And therefore, within Bangladesh, there is no denying the fact that right now, I don't think Bangladesh seems to realize it, that they're fishing in troubled waters. There's no country that can actually really help Bangladesh. They may attempt to get very close to China. China might get into Bangla port, might get into Chittagong port, and much that the military equipment of Bangladesh is wholeheartedly, I would say, in a large sum, over 80% of the equipment is from China. There's no denying the fact. Pakistan is deeply involved in it, getting as close as they can get to the Siliguri corridor, the ADG SI coming in there, they're being shown around. their own number two of the Bangladesh Armed Forces, who I understand now is being put under house arrest for what he did in Pakistan and inviting the ISI to Bangladesh. So there's a lot that is happening in Bangladesh. Bangladesh, to my knowledge, is fishing in troubled waters. It feels that it can, be able to browbeat, be able to pressurize India to get what it wants, whether it is water, whether it is yarn, whether it is electricity, whether it's medical tourism, and anything and everything. They're pressurizing India, making the Indians feel the kind of statements Yunus gave in China. I think that was atrocious. Absolutely not expected of a person who's none other than just a caretaker, heading the government in Bangladesh, making statements or luring China to come and sit in Bangladesh and be able to do what it wishes to, whether it is in terms of port or whether it is in terms of airfields or it is in terms of investments coming in. It's all a total eyewash. I go along with a $4.5 billion. You think Pakistan can even give it in the next 50 years? Impossible. Look at its own economics. It would never, no country would do. But then Bangladesh is trying to be, say that, look, we still are. And she's right. These demands have been there even during Hasina's time. These demands have been there all along. Hasina has always insisted, and that is why Hasina never got closer to Pakistan, because she never allowed the ship to come and call on the Bangladesh port, because Pakistan has never ever apologized, and even now he doesn't intend to apologize. He will never apologize. And Bangladesh is now saying, well, we will see what we can do and continue with the kind of relationship it wants with Pakistan. Not that it wants to continue, it's direct influence of the ISI and the Pakistani government in Bangladesh, and so is China's direct involvement into Bangladesh, which Yunus probably feels that it can well do away with all that India has done for it and brought it up to a level where Bangladesh was no longer a basket economy. It came up very well, and Hasina should be complimented for the way she empowered women, the way she brought up the Bangladesh economy to a level where everywhere you could even see, shirts and a lot of clothing, even in America, made in Bangladesh. And then now you have nothing, absolutely. The economy is in doldrums. Women are totally jobless. The economy of Bangladesh is in absolute doldrums. I don't think Bangladesh, even if it demands 4.5, even if it demands just about $50 million from Pakistan, it wouldn't get anything. So what about talking about $4.5 billion from Pakistan and demanding an apology? I go along with the ambassador, an absolute eyewash and nothing else. Yeah.
Yes, everybody knows the state of economy in Pakistan. Pakistan is going to World Bank and to IMF every now and then for a few millions, perhaps for 1 billion, and then gets its next tranche. How will they get 4.5 billion and give it to Bangladesh? But do you think that this is clearly a pretense, sort of to give out an impression that they are equidistant from India and equidistant from Pakistan? Look, we asked Pakistan also to send an apology and to pay us our dues. It's just a pretense, basically.
You think anybody would even take Bangladesh for what it is saying? You have to see what actions, what is it that Bangladesh is doing. Bangladesh is not at all behaving like a good neighbor. Forget about being a friend. Not even behaving like a good neighbor. Well, knowing that over 4,000 kilometers all along, everything around Bangladesh is India. And what it is, Yunus wanting to say that in China, I think India has done the right thing. That because of our port and shipment facilities being overcrowded, there is no time now. There is no place for Bangladesh. Well, India, ensures that at least Bhutan and Nepal will not be affected. But then we can't give a free run to Bangladesh, making statements here and there. I think Mohammed Yunus hasn't played the card that he should have. He should have actually brought Bangladesh to, instead, he's tried to become anti-India and trying to, I would say, allowing the students to do what they are doing. Look at his advisor, look at the people giving statements and talking about minorities. What minority? Murshidabad, Malda have had a Muslim majority, never a Hindu majority. And when he talks about minority, I don't think they should be ever talking about you see the kind of women on the television and all over the media, the way they are screaming that if the BSF and all are not there, we wouldn't want to go back home. You have the governor of West Bengal there in Murshidabad today to take the stock of the situation. What does it show? That the minority there are Hindus. and that Hindu minority in Murshidabad is under tremendous pressure, and that the West Bengal Chief Minister herself has said that it appears that the people from Bangladesh have come in, but of course her statements are to show BSF in poor light. Notwithstanding that, it is that she is conveying it that the miscreants are from outside. Where outside, meaning Bangladesh, that people have come from Bangladesh, created all this situation in Murshidabad and all of it. I think Bangladesh needs to look into its own house and not fish in troubled waters. Yeah.
Ambassador Veena Sikri, you briefly touched upon China, but do you think signs of growing Chinese-Pakistani influence converging in Dhaka's posturing towards India lately?
There is nothing else. There is nothing else except Chinese and Pakistani influence in all the posturing that Bangladesh has been doing. Now, first and foremost, all the projects that had been clearly stated by Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina will be given to India. These are now being given to China. Let us take the Tista Water Management Project. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina had made a categorical statement that this will be given to India and not to China. And this is what made China in July 2024, when Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina went on a visit there, they made Chinese very angry and they treated her very poorly indeed, with no protocol, no respect at all. Secondly, even the Mongla port development had been given to India, now they're giving it to China. So everything that they are doing is to curry favor with the Chinese. They're crossing all India's security red lines. Let's make no bones about it. And then you heard about that project when he went to China. There's a project. In fact, I had heard about it and announced it on some talk show when I was there. The Lal Munirat, the Bangladesh Air Force base in Lal Munirat, which is very near the Siliguri corridor, that is going to be modernized by China. There's going to be 700 acres of land, enough to station 70 jet fighters. And it's going to be done by China, with the money from China, and subcontracted to Pakistan. So what is this except the attempt by both Pakistan and China to create this third front for India in Bangladesh? And it is absolutely no bones about it, because they have stopped, for example, they're trying to telling, I remember a Turkish delegation came to Bangladesh in about September or October of last year, and categorically, saying in all the media, we will send you everything that India is sending you. So Turkey wanted to replace India as the supplier of goods to Bangladesh. Yarn, they want to prevent import of cotton yarn from India to Bangladesh, despite knowing that this is a major input into Bangladesh's ready-made garment industry and responsible for their maximum exports. So they have banned export of yarn from India through the land ports. Say you can come by air, you can come by sea, etc., but not through the land port, because they know that coming through the land ports is very competitive. And they're trying their best to make Pakistani cotton yarn competitive, to make American cotton yarn competitive, but it cannot be, because the transport cost, the actual cost of the product, it's far, far higher than what it is from India. For decades, we've had this excellent cooperation with Bangladesh, at all times, not just under the last 15 years, but much before that, on India's cotton yarn going there and contributing greatly to the excellence of Bangladesh ready-made garments, products and exports. So now they're trying to prevent that by doing this. Then they've announced, all kinds of restrictions on the trade between India and Bangladesh, just trying to throw spanners into the work. They are actually hitting themselves. आज कहते हैं ना, अपने हाथ अपनी कुल्हाड़ी मारना अपने पैर पे, यही हो रहा है, because they are just harming their own export industries. And everybody from the Bangladesh ready-made garment export industry is saying we are going into the doldrums. Their exports are falling. Vietnam is all set to take over as the number 2 world exporter of ready-made garments, take over Bangladesh's position. And Bangladesh's, their factories are closed. People are unemployed. The prices is rising enormously. Their exports are no longer competitive. People are coming to India for the garments exports. So, of course, it may be benefiting the Indian exporters, but it's terrible for the Bangladesh economy. And the previous 15 years growth rate of 6 to 7%, which made Bangladesh come out of the LDC category. This year, in 1 year, I think the growth, the economic growth rate has halved. It's probably come down to less than 3%. We'll know when the figures are declared, but it's a terrible situation. To cover up all this terrible economy, they're doing, all these, trying to say that China is our best friend, Pakistan is our best friend, and trying to say, no, this is just normal relationship, And when the a senior general from Bangladesh go to Pakistan? He said, I want to buy these jets from you. I want to buy so-and-so thing from you. I want to buy so-and-so defense product from you. They're announcing military exercises together. Is this normal? Is this natural? Is this something that the people of Bangladesh will accept? I don't think so.
I think clearly it's time for Bangladesh to introspect, and also given the fact that they are themselves saying that they are an interim government, they are not an elected government, a democratically elected government.
Absolutely.
If at all these decisions,
If they
if at
all
all
give
these
our yeah.
decisions are to be made, they can be made by a democratically elected government which has the people's mandate. So perhaps this government is just as an interim government to make preparation, to make the ground for election, which doesn't seem to be happening very soon. But what we are hearing statements about Pakistan, China, and also about internal matters in India. Thanks so much, Ambassador Veena Sikri, Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, for joining us and for sharing your thoughts. And thanks to our viewers for watching the Mojo Story.
Thank you.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.